The following is a paid program and does not necessarily reflect the opinions of the staff or management of Visionary-related entertainment.
Aloha and welcome to Maui Nonprofit Notes, the weekly radio show where you will find us talking story with Maui's nonprofit executive directors and their staff to find out how they're working to support the needs within our community. Maui Nonprofit Notes is generously sponsored by Pacific Source. If you're building or remodeling a home, please stop by Pacific Source's Cabinet and Appliance Showroom located in the Waikapu Bayshard. I'm Susie Tiemann, Executive Director of Lokahi Pacific, and your host for Maui Nonprofit Notes. During this hour, we share some of the experiences of our nonprofit agencies and just how they're changing lives, changing communities, and creating miracles of hope for those with needs. We also talk about some really exciting things like Arbor Day, which is coming up this weekend, right?
That's right.
And we've got Tamara Sherrill, who is the Executive Director of Maui Nui Botanical Gardens, and we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the gardens. We're going to talk about growing things. What else can we talk about?
Well,
that'll probably cover it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so take it away.
Okay, so this Saturday we're having our 15th annual, it's actually 1,500 Hawaiian tree giveaway. We usually do 1,000. We're going to bump it up for the 15th annual. And, this is, obviously this is not as popular a holiday for some people, but it's such a great excuse to get trees out there in the world. And one of the things we've been doing is we've got a hashtag My Arbor Day Tree, and people have been sharing their stories of all the trees that they planted over the last 15 years from this event. And there have been some sad ones and some really inspiring ones and cute ones. Some people say, well, I got a koa last year, so I'm not ready to make a canoe. But, everybody's sharing the story.
That's a teeny canoe, but
That's right.
Okay, yeah. We'll let it grow a few more years.
So, yeah, we want to put the call out. If you have attended this event before and gotten a tree, we'd love to see the picture of it, and we'd love to hear the story, whether your neighbor weed whacked it or whether it's just doing well. So, yeah, that's it. So hashtag My Arbor Day Tree or any of our social media online. And, Arbor Day started as an event. Actually, it started in Spain. That was the first one. But, in the United States, in Hawaii, it was 1905 that it became a holiday here. And it was always a tree planting holiday. So, there were contests to see how many people and how many schools could plant the most trees in the one day. And the tree giveaways, though, started from Department of Land and Natural Resources. And they were the ones who did the very first trees. And in the 1970s. So they used to have lines out the door all the way down to Costco, where Costco wasn't yet at that time. And, somebody told me that people used to go and change their shirt and try to come back in and get another one.
Oh, my gosh. Just to get a tree.
Yeah, because, and they were giving away lots of them, So that was an event that went on for several times. And then Maui Electric got involved. And so Maui Electric has been a partner with Maui Nui Botanical Gardens since 2003. And was a partner even before then with the LNR. And so they had a few tree giveaways on their own site as well. And they provide half the trees each year and lots of other help and advertising. And they'll be there. They'll have, reusable bags. And so it's one tree per person. And it starts it's on Saturday, this Saturday, November 3rd. It starts at 9 o'clock sharp. So come early to get the best selection. We've got about 28 different native and canoe plant species to give away. And some really interesting ones this year. And one tree per person means you can bring your whole family, include the babies, and we'll also have plants for sale from native nurseries. And they've got really beautiful stuff. They'll have plenty of extra ohia and mamaki and the really popular ones.
So if you've got 5 in your family, you can leave with 5 trees?
You can leave with 5 trees, and you can buy more if you like. And we'll have lots and lots of good information. So Maui Master Gardeners are going to be on site to help with plant selection. There's going to be a tree climbing demonstration with Jake Kane of Kane's Legacy Tree Services, and then certified arborist Terry Nutt will be doing a tree planting and pruning demonstration. And then, a really famous consulting arborist, Ernie Resents, he's taught at the college for years, and he actually wrote the Maui County Planting Plan. So he's going to be there with lots of hard copies of the planting plan, and he's going to be in an Ask an Arborist booth where there'll be lots of certified arborists to consult. So no excuse to plant the wrong tree in the wrong place. You definitely get a lot of advice on which is going to be the best tree for you.
Cool. So now all of these this combination of trees that you've got some that will grow to huge heights, some that'll stay small, some that'll branch out, be more bushy than tree.
Right.
It just depends, right?
That's right. And this is under a DLNR Ku'ulanani grant, so they do require that this holiday and this tree giveaway be about getting trees in the ground, to provide shade and to cool the ground, and so there will be all just trees and shrubs this year. So it's things that are as small as an a'ali'i, which grows to be about 10 feet and can grow just anywhere. This year we'll have these USGS maps and show you the range of each species and where it was found. If you look at the a'ali'i map, it's all green. It's every island everywhere, except for maybe the very, very top of Haleakala. So, and then we'll also have, some other small trees that we'll have are the nanu, which is an endangered gardenia and really hard to find. It's grown, the last population of that is on Lanai, and just a few trees left, so we got to get more of those in the ground for sure.
Right.
But those only grow up to be about 5 or 8 feet. So we've got small ones, and then we've got big trees too.
Do you remember what part of the island they're best in?
So that would be leeward. So yeah, definitely.
Okay.
If you're on the slopes of Haleakala or on the leeward side of Manaka Halavai, then you could definitely try the nanu. In fact, I think West Maui might even be a better choice for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that's so important, because I know, like, I had a neighbor move in a couple years ago, and there were some trees on his property that they needed care, which the previous people didn't do, and so he was ready to pull them out and get rid of them and bring in stuff. And he started talking about different trees, and I heard the person he was talking to say, no, not up here, because we're like at 2,500 feet up. He says,
Yeah.
You don't want that. It's not gonna do anything there.
Right.
It gets too cool.
That's true.
And we don't think about that. Well, we just think we're an island, so everything's the same, but it's not.
Oh no, it's not at all. In fact, we have I think we have 11 of the 12 climate zones of the world here. And we have so many different soil types.
I was going to say, yeah, we've got the sandy soils.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
and
then
clay
we've got
soils
the wet side and the dry side, and so that's why we have all these exports, and we have lots of signage, and it'll be easy, lots of charts to choose what tree's going to make it in your place, and also, of course, what size you need.
Right.
You don't want to plant something too big for your property. So
Right.
we've got coconuts this year.
Oh, yeah.
We've got something really nice, lolu, our only native palm, really, really endangered, Pichardia remota, and that's a beautiful one. We've never had lolu before.
What is that?
It's a native palm. It's a fan palm, and it gets to be several dozen feet high. And it was the leaves are really highly valued for thatching, so for thatching hale. And actually, there was a sport where people would attach the leaves to their shoulders and they would cliff dive and slow themselves down.
Oh my gosh!
So if you're looking to revive that sport, you can grab that tree. And
Is it fast growing?
no, these are pretty slow growing, so they're going to be beautiful little short palms for a long time. At least the ones that we have in the garden.
I see.
So probably pretty slow growing, but
So don't
we're
plan on
planning for a
testing it next
legacy.
year.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and then we also have some T-shirts that we're going to be doing. We just reprinted the Israel Kamaka Viva Ole's "Don't Cry for Me, Go Plant One Tree." We only did that once before on the very first Arbor Day. So for the 15th anniversary, we got permission to replant that.
Reprint.
I can't say anything that doesn't have to do with plants. I did this before. Reprint.
I got
yes.
that. I love that.
Yeah.
This is someone who's really into her job. Well, it's more than a job. You love it.
I do. And I
This
wish
is
I
who
could-
you are.
When I get tired in the office, I can go out and touch plants. That's the perk for sure. Excuse me. And of course, lots of different conservation organizations. So plenty of people that work to preserve native trees, and people who work to preserve the environment will be there sharing their work and helping give away the trees.
Interesting. So now Maui Electric doesn't have a tree farm or anything. They purchase these from nurseries, or what? The trees that they provide?
Yes, they will be purchasing them from native nurseries and from Ho'olava Farms, which are two big, old, commercial native plant nurseries that have been around for a really long time. So
Gotcha.
they grow
Okay.
beautiful plants.
Cool. That's great. And 1,500 trees. I know. I kind of, if I'm out in the yard working, when people start coming home from your event, I see the pickups coming by with the trees in the back.
Oh yeah.
And then the next day I can walk my dog around the circle and I'll see the tree pots out in the front yard sitting there so they can, they can catch the rain until they get them planted.
That's
and
right.
I think, oh, where are they going to put that? That's an interesting plant.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, when they buy a plant, do they get all like the instructions that go with?
Yes, absolutely. Like I said, we'll have full planting instructions and where the tree, how high the tree grows, and then we'll be doing a planting demonstration at I think we were doing that at 10 o'clock. So if you need to do any pruning on really low or young trees, Terry Nut is great to teach that, and then how to properly plant it, so that you're not planting it too high or too deep, whether or not to add compost to the soil, how to mulch it, how to irrigate it and fertilize it if you need to, that kind of thing.
Interesting.
And then for the keiki, we have lots of different activities where we take products from the trees and then show you kind of some of the Hawaiian arts that are used. So we've got some lauhala weaving. You can make a bracelet out of lauhala leaves with Ron and Becky Lau, and then there'll be kapa making with Lisa Schattenberg-Raymond, who teaches at the college. And lei making with the Native Hawaiian Plant Society. So you can make a lei po'o, or you can make a wrist lei with all kinds of different flowers and leaves from all the trees that we're giving away, and then we'll be doing makahiki games as well.
Interesting. I think the greatest thing about this is you got free admission, no charge to get in.
Oh yeah.
And walk around, take a look.
All our events,
Look at some of these trees. Now, some of what you're going to be giving away, you have planted in the garden, so they can see what they look like.
Exactly. That's definitely one of the benefits of having it there. Is if you really want to see what it's going to look like, how big it gets, then we can walk you right over to the trees, and they're all labeled, so you can see most of these trees in the garden.
No surprises. Oh, I thought this was going to be 6 feet tall. Look
Right.
at that.
Oh, actually, it gets pretty wide, doesn't it?
And that's kind of a scary thing sometimes. I see people who don't know anything about what they're planting, and they'll plant a hedge, for instance, and they put it just almost right on the lot line.
Right.
And next thing you know, it's on both sides of the lot line and spread out because they don't know how to trim it and keep it. And then they'll put in a tree, and that tree will grow into the hedge because they don't realize there's.
I think a lot of times people plant to make it look really good that day, and they're not thinking about what it's going to be like next year and in 5 years and in 10 years. And I mean, obviously you can take plants out as you go, but that's one reason that we have all the natives right there, is just to kind of give you an idea of what they are going to look like. A lot of people plant pohinihina or lima, and they'll plant them 6 inches apart in the median strips and things, but that's not what they want. They want 3 feet or 5 feet distance, and so you can see the difference. But that's why come down, get some ideas. It'll be a great event for that. And even if you don't make it to this event, we are there all the time to give this kind of advice to homeowners. So if you're thinking about planting a hedge and you want to put it right on the edge, there are a few plants that'll grow straight up just like that. And we can help you figure out what you need and help you find the nurseries that have those plants, so that you don't take up too much of their time and you know what you need.
That's great. And I think, it's a great point to say, if you are looking at redoing your yard, or if you're just putting in the yard for the first time in a new house, new property, whatever, come down and take a look and see how things grow and how they can interact and not interact, or shouldn't interact, before you go to the bother of maybe you out purchasing
Right.
way too many starts for the hedge.
Yep. And we're happy to walk you around and talk about what your ideas are, how much space you have, whether you need a sound barrier or a wind barrier, if you're looking for fruit trees, that kind of thing. We can talk about it. And if you're looking for things that aren't native, we have resources, people to talk to as well. So yeah, if you're thinking about redoing your yard, we're a good place to stop by.
Yeah, it sounds like it. On that note, we've got to take a short break. We'll be right back.
Aloha from Pacific Source, and thank you for your support over the years. Pacific Source has offered more of what builders and homeowners value most in building materials and cabinet design. We've done this by offering superior customer service and products, as well as by designing kitchens and baths that are intelligent and elegant while staying true to your vision and budget. Visit our showroom in Waikapu in Central Maui, where we display a variety of cabinets as well as top-name appliances like Sub-Zero, Wolf, Viking, KitchenAid, and more. We display countertops, tile and wood flooring, and several brands of windows and doors, including Fleetwood multi-slides and La Cantina folding doors. Come in and talk to our designers about making your dreams become a reality. From concept to completion, we really believe our attention to detail and superior service are what sets us apart. Let us show you what we mean. We are a Pacific Source at 515 East Oahe Way in the Consolidated Base Yard in Waikapu, just off Waiko Road. Call us at 986-0380. That's 986-0380, or look us up online at packsource.com.
And we are back. This is Maui Nonprofit Notes, the weekly radio show where you'll find us talking story with Maui's nonprofit executive directors to see what's happening in their world. And today we've started the show talking with Tamara Sherrill, who is the executive director of Maui Nui Botanical Gardens. And of course, this is the big event of this year, right?
Well, yeah, we have had this for the last 15 years, and it is a big free community event that we have, but we'll have workshops throughout the year on Saturdays, a lot of the times, usually having to do with, the cultural uses of the plants, or, Hawaiian cultural expression using these native plants. We just started doing a breadfruit festival that's in September as well, and we actually had, almost 2,000 people come to that, so that's been a fun.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's at your place also?
Yeah, so that's called La'ulu, and that's happening usually the first week in September, and that's to celebrate all the different products that can come from ulu tree, and all chefs doing demonstrations on how to cook with ulu and how to grow it. Kahanu Gardens was there and sold a lot of ulu trees. Unfortunately, Arbor Day this year, we're not going to have ulu trees. That's definitely a popular one because they're just in high demand right now. Ulu is such a thing. But we can help you figure out where to find them. And we definitely want to encourage people to just, to plant a tree, and in celebration of Arbor Day, they help to protect your property from wind and sun and heavy rain, and they can cool your house and yard, can lower all your energy costs by, 20 to 25% depending on how you plant. They can filter the air of dust and all the particles, and of course, they're absorbing carbon dioxide, so you're doing a little your part there to,
Right, for the
environment, for global warming a little bit. They absorb other pollutants, they absorb runoff, and if you plant native trees, if they're native to your area, it's possible they can save you some irrigation costs and water. They can attract native insects, which not many people talk about native insects, but they're disappearing pretty quickly along with the native birds and the native plants. So you may not even notice what's happening, but if you have native trees and native plants in your yard, you're providing a habitat for native insects and possibly native birds if you live in high elevations. And of course, people are needing to collect for food and medicine and all kinds of other cultural uses. So a lot of these trees have those cultural uses, and like I said, we'll have some of them demonstrated and free activities for people to try that out. And of course, if you're planting native trees, then we're creating a more unique landscape.
Right.
We're not looking like all the other tourist areas. We've got 89% of the native plants here are endemic, so they're only found in Hawaii. So the more that we plant, the more unique we're going to look. So
that's really cool. Talking about your Saturday workshops, you got one coming up in December 1st.
Yeah,
That's kind of interesting as we go into the holiday season.
Yeah, we're going to be doing a living wreath making class. So this is not cut flowers, but because native plants don't produce quite as much flowers as they do foliage, but we've got actual living plants that we're planting into a sort of a peat moss and potting soil core, and then you wrap that with more sphagnum moss, and it's really pretty. Yeah, and we have some non-living elements, some dried pieces and stuff like that. We got pictures on Facebook of what they look like if you're interested. But yeah, that'll be December 1st.
That's great. Now, do you charge for workshops like that?
We do. I believe that one is $25 if you are a member, and then $50 if you're not a member, and that'll include a 1-year membership. So you'll get, free, they get the membership discounts and free admission to the gardens for a year, and a couple of newsletters a year, and other benefits like that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Things are exciting over at the gardens.
Yeah, we have a lot of people walking in every day, coming to collect materials and give us advice and ask advice, and we just had today, we had the Weed and Pot Club, which is every Wednesday, and that's
My favorite, Weed and Pot.
Yeah. You should have seen the Halloween spread they had. Oh my God, it was insane. I couldn't believe it. So they come and they'll weed in the garden for an hour. That's the weeding part, and then they'll pot up plants or work in the nursery for the second hour, and then they eat food.
I remember when I first heard about that, what is this pot club you got over there?
I don't know how they slipped that one by the board, but they did. That was a long time ago.
Yeah, it was.
Stayed ever since. We have our own T-shirts for it and everything. So, so if you're interested in just learning a little bit about native plants, and you have Wednesday off, then just show up at 8:30. We'll provide the gloves and water and tools. Just bring wear covered shoes and clothes that you can get dirty, and come at 8:30. It's a fun
Cool.
group. Yeah.
Yeah. So are you busting at the seams at the garden, or
With
have you got
people or plants?
plants? Have you got enough room?
Oh, we could always plant more. Yeah, things come and go, and we're always kind of encroaching a little on the lawn and redesigning. We've got a beautiful new master plan that's just gotten finalized, and so we've got ideas for some theme gardens that we're slowly developing. So we do need a lot of help with getting those things in place. Yeah.
Cool. That's
Absolutely.
exciting. Now, how long have you been the executive director?
I started in 2014 as interim, and so since 2014.
Basically 4 years.
But I've been I worked as the nursery manager and curator first. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So
you know it inside and out.
I do, and we have a fabulous team right now. We've got a horticulturalist who's really gung-ho, and she's also an artist, so she's been, incorporating all kinds of interesting activities with the work that she does with the volunteers, and, our garden manager has been just cranking out the plants and making things beautiful there, and we've got a person who's managing the Kalo collection, so all he does is work on making sure that all the old Hawaiian taro are, that we still have a good, solid, well-verified collection, so we can get different propagules out to people, out to farmers and other people. And we try to do that with as many Hawaiian crop plants as possible. And we're working on seed banking as well. So a lot of these native plants are disappearing in the wild, and so we have it's fairly low tech actually, but you can store seeds for 10 years or more if you treat them correctly.
Oh, wow.
And so some of these remnant native plant populations, especially because of where we are, coastal plants are our focus. This is something that a lot of our interns do, is they'll go and collect from wild areas and then process and store those seeds for long term for reforestation later for
That's
coastal
interesting.
areas.
Interesting. Did the heavy rains that we had the last couple months, did you have any real issues with that, or?
No, we're lucky in that we're on a sandy spot, so things just wash through. But we were worried about the hurricane. We have a plant there that's very, very rare that we keep in a giant planter that's 8 feet by 8 feet that can't be moved. So we've got 13 organizations working on how to hurricane-proof that. So we definitely have a few really rare things that we worry about in that kind of weather for sure.
Right. Interesting. So sandy soil works for you.
Absolutely, and we love having the rains. It just greens everything up for us. But it's a pretty unique site. It's the only botanical garden that is on a coastal dune system. So the plants that we can grow there are really, really unique to that spot. There's the lei flower of the lei plant of Koho'olave, which is hina. It's this really silvery plant. If you look at it, when we have groups come, you can look at it with a loop. You know what I mean by a jeweler's loop, where you hold it up to your eye and you can. It's like a magnifying glass in the field, and if you look, it's covered with hairs like a dog. It's like. And that's what makes it silvery, because it's a sand dune plant. It'll only grow right in the full sun, right in the sand, and it's just a beautiful plant. Things like the lei plant of lanai, which is another coastal plant. And you might see it sometimes growing on the beach morning glory, but it looks like just strands of orange, and it's a parasitic plant. It doesn't have any chlorophyll, doesn't have any green, and doesn't have any leaves or roots, and it just grows on other plants. But you can actually pick it up, and it's this beautiful orange color, and you can make a lei out of it, and that's why it's the lei flower for lanai.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's lots of different ones, but you got to come down, Susie, and do a tour with us.
I think so.
Learn all about them.
I think so. I think it's about that time.
Yeah, definitely.
I just, we get so used to what we see around us and getting to know. I mean, like some of the things that were planted in my yard for me, the guy who was laying it out said, this is perfect for this tree and that tree. And okay, cool. Now it's 13 years later and the trees we've kept them pretty well under control so that they haven't gone berserk in growing strange, arms out to nowhere kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But I'd like to know more about them.
Yeah,
And I know that some of them are native because that's our subdivision. Everybody has to have the native trees in the front yard kind of thing. So I need to do some research.
Yes, well, come down and just look around, because even just the signage that we have at this event you'll probably recognize the tree that's in your yard. It's probably one of the 30 or so that we'll have, plus the arborists that are there. If you have some issues in your yard and you've got a tree that's encroaching on your neighbors, or it was a little bit bigger than it needs to be, there'll be a lot of certified arborists that can talk to you about the most cost-effective way to deal with that, and there might be ways that you can prune it yourself too.
And the other thing I need to look at is I've got some fruit trees. I've got grapefruit, lime, and orange that we planted. We thought far enough apart, and they call them dwarf, but so they go up to maybe 8 feet, kind of thing, and that's as tall as they get. But the inside keeps growing, and I need to thin it out, and I know that takes a specially trained person to do that kind of work.
Yeah, and that's the kind of thing that at 10 o'clock, Terry Nutt's going to be doing that pruning demonstration. So something that's small enough. If you need to get on a ladder for it, you probably should hire an arborist. That's kind of the rule of thumb. But if you can stand on the ground and do it yourself, there are some just really basic principles you can learn, in 15, 20 minutes that'll help a lot for the health of your tree in terms of what to cut and where to cut. And because I think for a long time people topped trees, and that just means, cutting and leaving a big stub of a branch.
Right.
And so to avoid that, where you need to cut, and exactly how trees are kind of interesting in that the way they heal is not like the way people heal. They sort of just wall off an area, so it doesn't decay, and they have these sort of special parts that do that. So it helps you recognize what those parts are so you don't cut those off.
Interesting. I need to get down there.
All right. We'll be looking for you.
All righty. Amongst all the thousands of people that'll be there.
Yes. I'll see you.
But that's great. So Arbor Day coming up this Saturday, November 3rd, from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Be at Maui Nui Botanical Gardens. 1,500 Hawaii tree giveaway. Wow. That's a lot of trees.
They'll go fast, so come on
down. And they take them right home with them right then and there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yep.
It's not go pick them up someplace.
Nope, they're all right there.
Wonderful. Any last thoughts before we have to call it quits today?
Nope, just please come visit us anytime. Give us a call, and like I said, if you've been to our Arbor Day events before and you have a tree story that you want to share, please share it on social media. Any social media, hashtag #MyArborDayTree. We'd love to hear how it did.
Very good. And if you want to just ask some questions of someone, can they call someplace?
Absolutely. Give us a call at 249-2798. 249-2798.
Very good. Thank you, Tamara.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Susan.
Have a great day. I know you will. It's going to be exciting because I don't know. It's just there's something about starter trees.
Yep, hopeful.
Yeah, that's it. You're right. Exactly. Because they're just, especially if you can be there at the gardens and see one that's been growing for a while.
Yeah. And
then see this start and just, wow. For a while I tried growing Christmas trees. I had 2 acres up country, and I thought that would be an easy thing to grow, right? You just trim them a couple times a year and let them go for like 4 or 5 years, and then they're the right size to sell or get out in the community. And then we had a fungus that came around throughout up country, and a lot of people got hurt with that one. And they were gone.
Wow.
Because I didn't catch them. I didn't catch what was happening soon enough.
Yeah.
And so I said, okay, well, that was a good idea, and so now I'm not doing anything like that. But it was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
I mean, for the first time ever, I felt how a farmer feels.
Oh, I
when,
hear you. I hear you. No, I mean, that is the way of it. So, you just because you plant something, it doesn't mean it's a piece of furniture that's going to stay there. And, don't worry. I've killed more trees than you. I swear I have. I've planted so many, and I know that's the name of the game. Sometimes things happen like that. So
right.
You just gotta keep doing it.
So to all of you out there, don't forget, stop by, take a look. Demonstrations at 10 a.m. The event runs from 9 a.m. to 12. It's free admission, free parking, and get a free Hawaiian tree.
Yep. Thank you.
You got it. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
We'll talk to you later on.
Okay.
And now we shift gears, and we're going to talk with Mary Leva. Get ready, Mary. Come on. Off of Facebook.
Oh, I wish I was on Facebook.
Mary is with Hui Ho'omalu.
Partners in Development Foundation.
There we go. And basically, for most people, it's the organization that does foster care.
That's right.
And finds and trains families to take in foster children.
Yes, exactly. We do concentrate on child general, so we are looking for anybody in the public to be able to become a foster parent, and we actually have a foster parent that, we don't call our foster parents anymore. We call them resource caregivers. So we do have a resource caregiver here today.
You're still trying to teach me how to change that.
I know, it's hard.
What's it been, 2 years?
2 years already.
They will forever be foster parents. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
For some reason, the resource caregiver, I don't know, it's not the same, it doesn't have the same ring to it.
How about RCG?
RCG.
We're like in the world of acronyms. So resource caregiver.
Resource caregivers, RCGs. Okay. So we have one with us, and she's going to tell us what a joy it is to be one. Oop, I got a funny look there.
It is. I mean, it has its moments, as raising children does, right?
Right.
And these children come in generally with heartbroken. So you're dealing with a child that some of them show it more upfront than others, but they're all broken. They're
Right.
emotionally, some have been physically abused, but they all believe they're not worthy. And I think that's the challenge, is to reinstill in them that they are, and it's not their fault. Because children always think that whatever transpires in a parent situation, if they had done something different, the family would be still together. This has been my experience.
Interesting. That's the perception they walk away with.
Well, I think most children have that. Even as a child, I thought you think that if your children think they're that powerful or that they're that influential with their parents. And anyway, that's just a belief. But the goal is to offer these children getting back into the community, back into things they enjoy. Generally, if you come from a home that's dysfunctional, life starts getting very small, right? You don't have a lot of friends. You're not active in a church or community organizations. You're not doing athletic programs or things of that nature. So the state encourages children to get help. They want them to get see psychiatrists, whatever kind of mental help they need, physical help, doctors, dentists, whatever some need teeth. you know?
Right.
Some need doctor's care for maybe they're not walking straight, or just things that haven't been attended to.
I was going to say, in many cases, they're just ignored.
Yes, they're not the high on the priority list. So
Did-
they're abused in that,
Right.
right, where their needs aren't met.
What age children are you?
Right at the moment, I have a 4-year-old a boy and a 15-year-old sister.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, there's a different, same mommies, different daddies, but the goal of the state is to keep family together,
Uh-huh.
which is a good thing, generally.
Yeah, we're always looking for more resource families to take in siblings. And it's hard here on Maui because not all of us can take a sibling group of 4. But we try to keep them together because they're already going through so much change that it's just really nice if they have their siblings together too.
Right.
And then also, like, what we try to do is try to have the families placed into foster homes that kind of know each other so that they can still have that relationship with
Gotcha.
each other. And yeah, so, like Rhonda was saying, a lot of the children come from a traumatic background where they've experienced violence or they've experienced having to mature at an earlier age. So they do have a lot more life experiences than most normal children. But at the same time, they're resilient and they're able to come out of it with a nurturing and safe environment that can be provided by the resource caregiver.
Right. Gotcha. We have to take another short break, and we'll be right back.
Aloha from Pacific Source, and thank you for your support over the years. Pacific Source has offered more of what builders and homeowners value most in building materials and cabinet design. We've done this by offering superior customer service and products, as well as by designing kitchens and baths that are intelligent and elegant while staying true to your vision and budget. Visit our showroom in Waikapu in Central Maui, where we display a variety of cabinets as well as top-name appliances like Sub-Zero, Wolf, Viking, KitchenAid, and more. We display countertops, tile and wood flooring, and several brands of windows and doors, including Fleetwood multi-slides and La Cantina folding doors. Come in and talk to our designers about making your dreams become a reality. From concept to completion, we really believe our attention to detail and superior service are what sets us apart. Let us show you what we mean. We are a Pacific Source at 515 East Oahe Way in the Consolidated Base Yard in Waikapu, just off Waiko Road. Call us at 986-0380. That's 986-0380, or look us up online at packsource.com.
And we are back. This is Maui Nonprofit Notes, the weekly radio show where you'll find us talking story with Maui's nonprofit executive directors and staff to find out what's going on in their world. And today we're talking with Mary Leva, who's the Maui representative for... I got it right. Hey, I'm on a roll today. This is unreal. I'll probably say my name wrong at the end of the show.
That's
We're talking about resource caregivers. 2 points for that one.
Yes.
Good job, Susie.
I can be taught. Sometimes it's difficult, but I can be taught. It's interesting to me. Rhonda was telling our one of our resource caregivers who is here with us today was telling us that she's right now taking care of a 15-year-old and a 4-year-old, trying to keep that part of the family together, and that's quite a span. Do they experience the same kind of reaction to what's going on?
Well, unfortunately, they both have the same need for recognition. So the 15-year-old can become the 4-year-old. Okay, because her needs weren't met. So it's challenging because they both vie for attention.
I see.
But I'm learning, and we're learning. The goal is not to give up and get as much outside help as you can. There is a lot of help, and we have resource groups that meet every 6 weeks.
Yeah, every 6 weeks we have a support group that meets with foster parents here on the island of Maui. And it's just a really great time for all of the resource caregivers to get together, share stories. We provide childcare, so it's also kind of, a time away from the kids to engage with other adults if they're at home with the children. We also offer trainings that are offered every quarterly, and the trainings are based on need. So sometimes it's on trauma and what it does to a child, or sometimes it's about sex trafficking and how that's involved in foster care. Or how to deal with difficult behaviors with teenagers. So it's very informational, and so when you become licensed as a resource caregiver, in order to stay licensed or to maintain your license, every 2 years you have to complete 12 hours of consecutive training. And so by coming to the quarterly trainings or to the support group, sometimes you can gain some hours there. So it's not a lot, it's 12 hours for 2 years. So 6 hours 1 year and 6 hours the next year, and you just stay licensed to continue to take in children.
I see. Mm-hmm. So now, how many years have you been doing this, Rhonda?
I think we're going on 4.
Okay, so you've had other children before.
I have
this
had
group.
other children. I actually started with my own family.
Okay.
And
that's not unusual, right?
No, it's not unusual. And it was an experience that opened my eyes to the need. I mean, your life is based on what's going on, and then you have an experience that you see another whole view. And I was grateful that I was there for my grandchildren. And I can say that their parents are one of the success stories. They got their lives back together and on track.
Great.
The goal of the state is always reunification. So they do provide the parents with what's called a service plan for their basic needs, the things that they've been through, anger management, money management. They give them all kinds of classes. And the timeline there depends on them, but it's usually a year and a half. It can be extended. So generally the goal is not that you're going to have these children forever.
Right.
That there's a timeline. And the parents, there's many facets of it. So let's see, get back to the story. I started with my grandchildren.
Right.
And I had them just over a year. And was it hard to give them back? Yes. Was it hard because I'm not 40 and they were, at the time they came, they were like 3, 5, and 7.
Wow.
That's a lot. And dealing with their emotions. But I had always been in their lives, so I was someone familiar.
Right.
So that's what makes the family support easier than children who have been removed that come in and don't know you from anyone. Mm-hmm. And so once I had the experience with my grandchildren, they always tell you to take a break. I took a break about 6 months, and I had a hole. Those children, and I've always been involved with children through the church or whatever, and I've always had a thing for children. So I decided to change my license. So specific is for family, and general is for children that are not related to you. So I switched my license and said, and I wanted to see if you would love a child that wasn't your family as much as one that was. Well, yes, you do. So that's how I got the 2 that I have. And generally, I don't think there's that big span of time between, but there was, and it was supposed to be just for a brief amount of time, and life is very interesting, and it's been longer than expected, but I've learned a great deal, and there is such a need in our community. That's the only one we can really talk about, but it's across the country. We seem to have a generation of adults that have children and don't want to raise them or not capable of raising them.
They don't want to be parents.
They don't want to be parents. And there's many theories on that, but there are more grandparents raising children now than ever before.
Oh, wow.
Which, you think you did it and, you're ready for those lazy days.
You
But
have the children for the afternoon. You give them back to mom and dad tonight.
That's the goal. But sometimes it changes, and I guess it's by the grace of God the strength comes and you do it. But it's important to get help. Either belong to a church or some organization that's going to support you and help you out, because you can't do it alone. I was a single parent. That was tough. I'm still single. I don't know why, but that's another conversation.
Yeah,
that's not why we're here.
Right? Yeah, that's a different show.
So let's try that one. But I don't encourage people that are alone to necessarily take this on. It is very good to have a partner, because it takes a lot. It's like it takes a village. And it's nice to have that support, especially at the end of the day when you're tired. You've got someone that can say, we're doing okay.
Right.
But if it's your call and you're going to do it, you're going to do it. And amen to that, because that's me. And I've watched these children grow. The little boy has blossomed. And the little girl, she's not a little girl, but she was in that trauma longer. So it's going to take longer. Mm-hmm. And their behavior is trauma-induced.
Wow. So if there's some grandparents out there who see what's happening in the family situation, and maybe are being called on more and more to keep the kids while things happen with the parents, would you encourage them to find out more about the foster program?
Well, I knew my daughter was going down the wrong road, and I kept trying to help, and all I really was doing was enabling. I wasn't helping. And the state getting involved, reality came to the surface. What happens is the children become wards of the state. So they aren't the grandparents' they're still your grandchildren no matter what, but you have all the rights are turned to the state. But the goal of the state is to give them back.
Right.
They don't want to keep them.
Right.
But yes, because there's a lot of support. I mean, it's expensive to clothe them. It's expensive to get them involved in activities. And so there is financial help. I was really quite taken with what the state offers. Emotional help, physical help, financial help. It's laid out. I mean, you can't do just whatever you want.
Right.
There's guidelines. But yes, if someone's looking at that, it's important to if you make that call to CPS, to let them know that you are interested in having the children. It's very important that you let them know that.
Right.
And you can make anonymous calls.
Yeah. So just to kind of go back to what Susie or what Rhonda was saying, like, a lot of the children that are removed do end up being placed with family, and that's easier for the child and for the family. But for those other children, that's the ones that we are always constantly looking for, which is the general license families. And part of it, like Rhonda touched on it a little bit, how there's this generation that's just having a harder time on caring for their children or whatever. I'm not sure if that's the case, but the point of the program, the point of foster care is to give the birth parent or the birth family a chance, a break to take care of themselves, to make themselves better so that they can be reunified with their children. That's the state's goal. The state's goal is to have the foster child placed in a safe environment with a resource caregiver that has been, cleared by them, and has gone through the home study and has gone through medical records saying that they're okay, and then making sure that the parents are doing what they're doing. They're doing what they're doing, and then they reunify. So that's the main objective, to give that birth family a break, because it's overwhelming. I mean, we've all had overwhelming moments. It's expensive to live on Maui. There's a lot of going on. If you have 4 or 3 kids, So it's kind of like hectic. So I think I really want to emphasize that the state really helps families. I mean, they have so many programs to help families with foster children to be able to be okay. They offer them to participate in activities, to participate in programs for the child's own nourishment, to kind of find themselves, because what we want is normalcy, and we want prudent parenting from the resource caregivers to be given to foster children.
Wow, that's a plateful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But there are some real success stories.
Many.
Yeah.
Many.
It's like reading the newspaper and they only give you the negative.
Yeah.
There's a lot of reunification. There's a lot of people who let's face it, in the beginning, if someone takes your children, who would be happy? You're reactionary, you're upset, you blame. But it seems to me, I've seen a pattern that as soon as that parent starts getting out of blame and starts looking at the opportunity that they have to focus on themselves, maybe they didn't get to learn some of these things. Maybe they had children really young. Maybe they didn't learn how to parent.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they didn't have a good role model.
I was going to say they came from a dysfunctional family, so
generally
they
it's a
didn't know.
cycle, right?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So if they see that it is an opportunity and there's visitation there, they're set up, they get to see their kids. Once they step into that, this is for the betterment of all of us. My kids are safe, I'm safe. This is a time for me to work on me so I can be a better parent. It moves much smoother, and reunification happens.
And hopefully breaks the cycle.
Yes, that's right.
Because
that's
now
the
these
goal.
children will have a good role model to grow up with.
Correct.
Right. Yeah, and that's what we encourage too, is for birth families and resource caregivers to parent together. It just makes a world of difference for the foster child. They, they're kind of like stuck in the middle throughout the whole process. So having them both together, and it just makes it easier for both the foster child and the families.
Wonderful.
Yep.
I'm so glad that we have organizations like Hui Ho Malu to do this, and folks like Rhonda who step forward and jump into it. We're just about out of time. Any last comments?
Yeah, I did bring some stats, but I don't know if we're going to have time to share them.
Nope.
Rhonda, you talk too much. It's like, nah.
No, it was all good. It was
I'm
all
joking.
good.
It was so good. You gave such good information. I do want to say a shout out to Zach and Tanya Mathers. They are resource caregivers, and they have foster children here on Maui. And they have the Village of Hope, a foster and orphan care program that they're running from Hope Chapel. Basically, they have journey bags that they're giving out to foster families.
That's
It's
it.
all good.
Hello,
Yeah.
that's it.
Okay.
We want to thank you all for joining us today and let you know the Maui Nonprofit Notes is sponsored as a community service by Pacific Source, the builder's choice. Give Paul and his staff a call at 986-0380 or stop by their showroom in the Waikapu Base Yard on East Oahe Way to see how they can help you with your building project. Today we visited with the Maui Nui Botanical Garden folks. We visited with PIDF, the, what does that stand for?
Partners in Development
Foundation.
Yay!
Yay, that's what it is. And we're running out of time, so I'm just going to say thanks everybody for joining us. Have a great week. Aloha.